Of the Brooklyn City Council to order. Mary Jo, if you could do the roll call, please.
Mary Belbeer.
Here.
Kevin Tansky.
Here.
Andy Selhertz.
Here.
Katie Gallagher.
Here.
Tony DeMarco.
Here.
Ron Van Kirk.
Here.
Kathy Pucci.
Here.
Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone. First, we'll start off with the approval of council minutes from June 23rd, 2014. I need a motion to approve.
Motion to approve. Second.
To approve, Mary Belbeer.
Yes.
Kevin Tansky.
Yes.
Andy Selhertz.
Yes.
Katie Gallagher.
Yes.
Tony DeMarco.
Yes.
Ron Van Kirk.
Yes.
Kathy Pucci.
I'm going to abstain just because we didn't have them in time and I did not get a chance to read them today.
On behalf of City Council, I'd like to express condolences to the family of Walter Montgomery and Edward Krajewski. Wally was a former Brooklyn firefighter and longtime resident in Brooklyn, and Ed was a former police officer and also a longtime resident. Both men contributed so much to our city, and they'll be gravely missed. Tonight on the agenda, we have a request to advertise for bids for a new fire alarm system in the service garage, which will include control panel, smoke detectors, CO detectors, pole stations, horn strobes, and heat detection cable. We also have 5 new ordinances, including one to enter an agreement with the present Juvenile Diversion Coordinator, Lou Galizio, to pay him no more than $18,000 per year from funding provided from the Cuyahoga County Diversion Program. The Police Department is requesting the purchase of 20 internal Police Department cameras in the amount of $25,466 from Integrated Precision Systems under Ohio State term contract. These cameras would replace and add to the current cameras and integrate the system into one. The monies to pay for the cameras will come from the POPIS Fund. Council has decided to pass this on emergency tonight because these cameras are used for evidence purposes and it's needed soon. We have an ordinance to purchase recycling containers from Toter Company through a National Intergovernmental Purchase Alliance for a total of $215,182. Our service director is expecting a start date and upgrading recycle plan to begin December 1st. Purchasing the containers by the end of the year would also help the city save between $2 to $5 per container. Therefore, Mr. Verba is asking council to pass this ordinance by emergency tonight. The next ordinance is for the purchasing of floor tiling in the Recreation Center in the amount of $48,978 through Lowe's in the Western State Contracting Alliance. Our service director is requesting this be passed by emergency to have the floors complete by the time hockey season starts. The flooring will be replaced partially on the rink side and on the natatorium side. The last new ordinance is to hire a full-time recreation commissioner for a term of 3 years from January 1st, 2015 to December 31st, 2018. Council will meet in executive session to discuss personnel matters relating to the recreation center. There will be no decision after we adjourn from the executive session. Also, council will hold a special work session on October 23rd at 6 p.m. in the City Hall conference room to discuss comprehensive annual finance report completed by our finance director. Lastly, after speaking to the rest of my colleagues and about their schedules and interests, I have appointed Councilman Andy Selhertz to fill the vacancy on the Finance Committee. And that we will now proceed with our regular council meeting. At this time, we'll have a public session. If anyone in the audience has anything to say for the good and welfare of the City of Brooklyn, please step forward, state your name and address, including city, and you will be recognized. Please keep your comments to 5 minutes or less.
Jim Oper, 4823 Elizabeth Lane. I come tonight just to ask if there's been any updates as far as the assisted living. I have a lot of people coming to my door on pretty much on a daily basis to ask what's going on. There was just a sidetrack from it. There was an electrical storm in the middle of August. Lightning hit the tree that's on the property that's going to be built on, which is right next to my fence, knocked over a couple branches, missed my fence. I called the lawyer, Mr. Scarpati, I believe his name is, who called Mr. Rusnoff, and there was a landscaper out there the next day and cut it up and got rid of it all. I did ask him if he could take it down because it's going to have to come down sooner or later, but he chose at this time not to take it down, which is fine. But, he told me I asked him what was going on. He told me at that time they had to dot some I's and cross some T's, and that was about 2 months ago. And I know that they wanted to have something up before the winter. Everybody's asking me in my neighborhood, except for the deer, and they're standing out on the top of the hill while I'm grilling, so I think they're next. So I'm just wondering what's going on. If we could use the website, maybe keep the residents updated. Maybe my neighbors will come around on Halloween. I'll give them candy too and answer any questions. So thanks. That's all I got.
Fran, would you mind doing an update during the director's reports? Or you can go ahead. You can do it now. Okay. Does anyone else have anything for the good and welfare of the city of Brooklyn? Okay, we will now move on to reports of committees, commissions, and boards. First up tonight, we have Finance Committee Chair, Councilwoman Pucci.
Thank you. The Finance Committee met this evening at 6:30, and just a reminder, the public is always welcome at these meetings. We welcomed Mr. Selhertz to our committee, and we voted to recommend action on the following items: authorizing the advertising for bids for the new fire alarm system for the service garage, and we estimate that the cost will be around $24,000. Ordinance 2014-54, which is our amended annual appropriations. We've discussed it the last few meetings. We recommended adoption on that, as well as 2014-55, authorizing the interfund transfers and advances. While we're talking about the transfers and advances, we anticipate having a financial work session in the near future so that we can discuss, among other things, deciding on a final amount that we're going to transfer into our budget stabilization fund and also our economic development fund. Ordinance 2014-50, which is on first reading. This is the agreement with the Juvenile Diversion Coordinator. It is the same terms as our current year. He will receive a minimum of $500 a month, which is what we currently receive from the county to pay for this, and the maximum of $18,000 per year. In addition to what we receive from the county, there's also a charge for the participants in the program, and we're still waiting for the interagency agreement, which we anticipate we'll have from the county for our next meeting. Ordinance 2014-61, which is emergency measure, authorizing the purchase of the cameras for the police department. And we also had a brief discussion. The chief is applying for a different type of funding for patrol car cameras and also body cameras for our officers. And just for a point of information, for the cameras for the building, we're going to be using funds from our POPUS account. Ordinance 2014-62, authorizing the purchase of the toters for the automatic recycling program. And the reason we're going to pass this by emergency measure is we originally anticipated that our recycling truck would be here in the spring, but it's actually going to be here by December 1st. So we want to get those toters ordered so we can implement the automated recycling. Ordinance 2014-63, the purchase of the rubber floor tiles for the rec center, $48,977.99. We'll also pass this by emergency measure because we want to try and get this project completed before the hockey season starts. Ordinance 2014-64, which is a competing ordinance relating to the establishment of the Parks and Recreation Commissioner. We did not take any action. We do anticipate discussing that in executive session this evening. I have a brief update on economic development. Fran and I did meet, and we began to work on a template for our job creation a retention grant agreement. We're taking the best language from other cities and incorporating them into our document. We will continue with this project, then turn it over to Mr. Clausen for his review prior to the committee voting on it. And I'd also like to give an update on the Safe Routes to School Committee. We met September 24th at 7:30 at Brook Ridge. We reviewed the plans for the Walk to School Week, which was the week of October 6th, which included Walk This Way, March This Way, Get Moving Brooklyn, which was the community walk on October 8th. I Walk This Way with My Dad. That was the Walk to School with Your Dad Day. I Want to Walk This Way with My Teacher. The ingress-egress for the new building is already set, so we will look at how the walkers and cyclists will arrive and leave from school. May 9th, from 9 to 11 in 2015, is the Bike Rodeo and Touch-A-Truck. Once again, this will be at Ridge Park Square, and we will look at rain activities and also contact the businesses to see what their participation is going to be as far as giveaways and also radio stations. The committee will meet the third Wednesday of the month with additional meetings as needed. We reviewed the budget, and we will be working on goals for 2014/15. We do anticipate an early start for the next Finance Committee meeting. We will be having a speaker who will talk to us about the CAFR. And I believe that completes my reports. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have the Recreation Board, Councilman Tansky.
Thank you. Frightening Friday Night Hollow Scream Skate. When? Friday, October 24th. Time, open skate 8 p.m. to 9:15 p.m. Cost, free admission to current Brooklyn resident ID holders wearing a costume and donating a Thanksgiving-related canned good for the City of Brooklyn Thanksgiving basket. Non-residents will be admitted for resident rates, $1 admission. If wearing a costume and donating a Thanksgiving-related canned good for the holiday basket. All other skaters not wearing a costume will be admitted for regular season rates. Skate rental fees are still in effect for all skaters. The next Recreation Board meeting will be held on Monday, October 20th at 7 p.m. in the Mayor's Court. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. The Domestic Violence Commission will meet tomorrow in the Senior Center at 7 p.m. Also, the Planning Commission was scheduled to meet on October 9th, and the meeting was canceled. Next up is the Board of Zoning Appeals, Acting Commissioner Kolsar.
The Board of Zoning Appeals will be meeting Thursday, October 16th at 6 o'clock in the City Hall Conference Room. We'll be hearing variance requests, 3 variances for proposed parking area in front of the building at 8215 Clinton Road. That concludes my report.
Thank you. School Board Liaison, Councilman Selhert.
Thank you, Ms. Gallagher. As Mrs. Pucci mentioned, on October 8, 2014, Brooklyn City Schools participated in Walk to School Day. Departure was from 3 locations, and everybody went to Brookridge. Participants that morning were accompanied by stilt walkers, which was kind of like a nice little surprise for people driving by on Ridge Road and wherever else. Kind of diverted them. On Monday, October 6, 2014, there was a special meeting of the Board of Education held in a Treasurer's Conference Room. Items consisted of the approval of a hiring of a technology assistant, also approving a contract with the Auditor of State, LGS, to conduct an annual audit for the fiscal year 2015 not to exceed $15,000. The biggest part of the meeting was devoted looking at the school district's report card and also meeting Dr. Lynn Zinn. Dr. Zinn has been involved in curriculum management audits since the 1970s. What she and other audit personnel will be auditing consisted of policy direction, long-range planning. Does it work? What do you do with it? Or does the plan just go on the shelf? Goal focus, consistency across curriculum, professional development regarding curriculum plan, student assessment trends and data. The process will generate a deficit report. It will be done by taking a systematic perspective. The process includes a review of documents, interviews of 3 board members, and an online survey by teachers. Dr. Zinn did mention that a lot of the districts do put the audit report on their websites after the school board gets the report card, or the report. The 2013-2014 school report card is out and available on the Ohio Department of Education website. There will be a few copies back at the end of this meeting available at the reception desk. It is a 23-page report. The report card for Brooklyn consists of 5 C's, 2 D's, and 2 F's. The report card was explained at the board's October 6th meeting and was a lengthy discussion as to how the letter grades were applied. No one was happy about the grades. One board member also asked and commented that the report card is made up in the same manner for all school districts. Please take a look at the website, or if you are present, take a copy from the back and review it and talk to your school board and our school administration. Great deal of effort was made to say you get a letter grade, but you have to look at all 23 pages to see what's made up into comprising the letter grade. It's not just I got an A or I got a B or I got a C. There's a lot of components that went into it, and from year to year the standards are changing. So you really do need to study the report card before you really get a good assessment of it. In regards to the graduation, learn more about Ohio's new graduation requirements and assessments. House Bill 487 updated Ohio's graduation requirements to ensure that all students are ready for success in college and work. As a result, the class of 2017, 10th graders in the 24-15 school year will be the last students to take the current Ohio graduation tests. The new requirements take effect with the class of 2018, which are the 9th graders in this 24-2015 school year. To explain these changes and to learn more about Ohio's new graduation requirements and the new assessments our students will be taking this year, Brooklyn High School will be offering informational meetings throughout parent-teacher conferences. These meetings will be offered at 5 p.m., 6:30 p.m., and 8 p.m. on Thursday, October 16th in room 173 at the high school. Upcoming events, Friday, October 17th is our senior game for football. Even though it's been a rough season for the football team, please come out and support them for their final home game. There will be a fireworks display that is being sponsored by the Brooklyn Music Boosters Club. Also, Saturday, October 24th is Make a Difference Day, which is a community service day for students within the school system. If you have ideas for projects, please contact the schools. Several potential ideas have already been brought to the table with the city. The next board meeting is October 21st, 2014. Public is welcome and encouraged to attend. It is your school system for your children. That concludes my report.
Thank you. We will now move on to reports of council, and first up tonight is Mary Belvier.
Thank you, Ms. Gallagher. On October 5th, the family of Specialist Angel Lopez held a memorial candlelight vigil on the anniversary of his death 1 year ago. They held it at their house on Rodone Avenue, and since I live very close there, I happened to stop by, and it was very, very heartwarming. I was truly honored and teary-eyed to attend. We must never forget the armed forces and all the sacrifices they make on behalf of their countrymen. Angel's family was so thankful for all who had attended. I also had a chance to attend the Brooklyn Historical Society, their Shunpike Shop, which was held September 27th and 28th at the Historical Center in Brooklyn. I dropped by and I toured the historical facility. It was room after room after room of all kinds of memories and artifacts from way back. Some of the things reminded me of my own business, where we keep a lot of that stuff that people give us. They don't know what to do with it, but they give it to you. And this was kind of like the Historical Society. So if you have things around the house, I'm sure, I don't know if they'd appreciate it, but maybe they would, you know. It was just truly, truly amazing. I was told that by visiting the Historical Society, some of the neighboring schools, the children there are just so enthralled with going in room after room. One room looks like a little makeshift kitchen with all the old-fashioned dishes and toasters and coffee pots. I could see where the kids would really think it was so charming. Also at the Shunpike Shop, they sold many handmade craft items and bakery items in the basement, and you even had a chance to win a quilt. One of the gals by the name of Carol Thompson was working on a loom making carpets, and what she did with the carpets was they would go to the thrift store and buy tons of sheets, sew them together, and then use a loom and weave them. They were really truly wonderful. It was almost like a lost art. Our city is so fortunate to have this museum here, and under the wonderful direction of Barb Stepek and her dedicated volunteers. If you haven't had a chance to visit this historical society, I really recommend stopping over there, and you would really be delighted to step back in time and find out some of the history of our fine, fine city. Yes, Andy had mentioned that the game is this weekend. I just recently heard that when we score, the fireworks will go off when we score also, in addition to at the end of the game. So if you get a chance to come out, please come out and support our team and look at those wonderful fireworks. One of the matters on the agenda tonight that was going to be discussed was the Juvenile Diversion Program. We have had a juvenile diversion program in Brooklyn now for a number of years. It's absolutely a wonderful, wonderful program for children. Diversion is for children who get into trouble with the law and are facing charges for various offenses for the first time. The program provides community service rather than sending the charges down to juvenile court. If community service is completed and no more charges within 1 year, the matter is never heard in court and the charges are dismissed. Rather than being saddled with a record, it gives children an opportunity to clean up their slate and to fly right and to do community service. This has been a very successful program here in Brooklyn, and I'm really honored that we have this here. We're very, very lucky to have this. In my mind's thinking is there's nothing greater than helping a kid. If you can reach to a kid and help him before he makes a big major mistake and gets a felony, I mean, that's marvelous, because you know, kids want to go into the service, kids want to become nurses, and you just can't with a felony record and things like that. So this is a wonderful diversion program, and I'm very proud we have it. The Greater Cleveland Youth for Christ organization will be celebrating their 70th anniversary with a banquet on Thursday, October 23rd at the La Villa Conference Center on Brook Park Road. It's for anyone interested in supporting this organization. They can call 252-9881. This organization works closely with our Juvenile Diversion program. It is headed by two Brooklyn residents. They're a married couple, Nick and Joanna Morales, who offer so much of their time, energy, and dedication to helping the youth of our community. I highly recommend, if you can support that, October 23rd, that would be a wonderful thing. They work so hard with these children that they deal with. They ask for donations, they ask for help, and they do so much wonderful things with the children. So if you can, you know, think about it and come and support, that would be marvelous. And lastly, I'd really like to thank the Service Garage for all the beautiful mums in the front of City Hall. I have to do a double take on my way to work every day. It looks wonderful, and I thank you, Service Garage, for all the hard work. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Kevin Tansky.
Good evening. Ordinance 2014-64, establishing the full-time position of Parks and Recreation Commissioner for a 3-year period effective January 1st, 2015 and expiring December 31st, 2017, and repealing the position of Recreation Commissioner. I believe this ordinance will be the same as Ordinance 2014-52. The only difference is that there is a 3-year term with a chance to extend this position. Councilman Ron Van Kirk, I do applaud you on your efforts in trying to find a compromise to resolve on hiring a commissioner that we could all live with on council and also the mayor. The rec board members took a walk through and saw the bathrooms B and C and also bathrooms on the pool side, along with the upper deck bathrooms. All, in my opinion, are in need of improvement and need to be updated due to age and usage. I also feel that other areas in the building are in need of updates as well. I want to reiterate that no matter who manages the recreation center, we need major monies allocated to this building to remodel and clean it up. Or whoever's in charge will be in the same position we are in now. There are 2 issues that I asked for at the September 8th council meeting for the mayor that need to be addressed before any ordinance for any commissioner is even talked about or passed. Number 1, I would like to see a future plan in place in how we, the city, is going to approach the rec center with a new view of management. 2, and with the same plan in place, have a meeting with Marie McGinty and our staff to recognize and restore the confidence to our residents in managing and making the rec center a dynamic and clean place to come and enjoy. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Andy Selhertz.
Thank you. On September 18th, there was a Shade Tree Commission hearing in the conference room at City Hall. The amount of trees to be replaced this year will be about the same as last year. Tree planting should start in the next few weeks. Streets where trees will be planted to replace ones that have been removed include Dawncliffe, Apple Creek, Bidoff east of Ridge, Kennedy, Bentwood, Glencoe west of Ridge. Residents will get an instruction sheet on how to care for the tree. Residents should not trim the trees themselves. If your lawn tree needs attention, please call the service department for assistance. Some residents have trimmed a few tree lawn trees to the point where there are only few leaves left. Basically, the tree looks like a fishing pole with a few leaves on top. Trees need the leaves and branches to grow. I had, in the past few weeks, a chance to talk to Rita Anovich in regards to the senior center. The good news is that the senior van has been ordered. This van was approved at the September 22nd council meeting with the passage of Ordinance 2014-58. In ordering the van, more consideration was given to the passengers with wider aisles and also storage space up front for packages and groceries. The delivery of the van is expected around March 2015. It could be earlier. For those of you that have already registered to vote by mail, packets have been mailed out and been received by residents in the past week. This past Sunday on October 12th, I had the opportunity and privilege to be invited to a Cleveland Baptist Church by Councilman Ron Van Kirk. Their parish held a service titled Civil Servant Sunday, which was a warm, heartfelt event with a guest speaker that hit many points on the head. The choral music, also directed by Mr. Van Kirk, was vibrant and soothing at the same time. Thank you. And something a little bit on the lighter side. Okay, residents, get your houses ready. We're going to have a Halloween house and yard decorating contest. Judging will take place after dusk on Thursday, October 30th. Categories are going to be most creative, most original, scariest. Winners and prizes will be announced and awarded at the November 10th City Council meeting, and that concludes my report.
Thank you. Tony DeMarco.
Good evening. I would like to offer my personal condolences to Janice Krajowski, her children Ed and Jennifer, and the entire Krajowski family on the passing of Ed Krajowski, a former Brooklyn police officer. I delivered his plain dealer to him for about 9 years, and we developed a friendship with both he and his family, so he will be missed. Mrs. Pucci, if you could, during your comments, if you could just give me an update on, I still haven't seen any minutes from Economic Development, so I don't know if any have been approved, but I haven't seen anything in months. In a recent Cleveland.com article, and I think it was in the Sun News as well, comments were made by our Economic Development Director that in part read, Brooklyn will not feel the pain or loss of American greetings. Brooklyn will be just fine. And I guess this will happen over the next 5 years. I'm not sure what the basis was for these comments, but I find them totally irresponsible and without merit. It is not to say that we don't have some things in the economic development pipeline. We do. But to make that prediction, I think, is quite bold. Maybe our Economic Development Director knows something that I don't, and this may be the reason why we have no economic development plan in place. We continue to accept whatever developers decide to build here, regardless of whether or not it makes sense, economic development sense for the city and our residents. Just some simple math based on the same article helps to make the point I've been trying to drive home for the past 3 years. With roughly $157 million in payroll and roughly 1,700 jobs on site currently at American Greetings, the average pay per job there is roughly $92,500 on an annual basis. If you think we are replacing light jobs with light compensation with the addition of Sheets and LA Fitness, please see me after the meeting. I have some great investment opportunities for you. The average annual pay for these new companies is basically 1/3 of what the average pay is at American Greetings. So the simple conclusion is, at this reduced rate of compensation on many of the new jobs that are being brought to the city of Brooklyn, we would have to triple the amount of jobs that we're going to lose at American Greetings, or over 5,000 jobs. After our last council meeting, our council president asked to speak with me. As I'm sure many of you are aware, the council president and I disagree on many issues, including the president's motives for supporting or not supporting various issues. She inquired as to why I resigned as a member of the Finance Committee. In a nutshell, I told her it really was none of her business, and I didn't owe her an explanation for my resignation. As is typical with the council president, when she gets an answer she does not like or someone voices an opposing view to her, she proceeds to raise her voice and badger the individual. At least that has been my experience. This has happened several times to me since our council president has been a member of council. All I can simply say is that I will not be subjected to her tirades and lack of decorum and professionalism. Our council president has no more authority or voting power than any other member of this council. I was elected by the residents to serve as a member of this council to the best of my ability, and I will continue to do that. To further this point, our council president was trying to coordinate a series of meetings after our last council meeting. After receiving a response from me that weekends were not good and I could not make a few of the suggested dates, an email was sent from our council president to all of council, which read in part, "You don't have the time, you should consider stepping down from this job." Again, without getting into all the details, I'm not sure who the council president thinks she is to suggest that anyone step down from their elected position. If I were to take the unprofessional tact of our council president, I would make the same suggestion to her. These are just a few examples of the lack of leadership skills possessed by our council president, and as a result, we continue not to address the significant issues facing Brooklyn and its residents. Instead, the political back-scratching continues. We are lacking real leadership in many facets of the operation of our city. I have made several suggestions that have been met with less than positive response during my time on council, but I am confident enough and have done my homework to make these suggestions. For others, it is much easier to simply sit back and poke holes in other people's ideas. As I simply explained to our council president, she has her own faction on council, and they have their own ideas on what is best for the city of Brooklyn, and of course, I'm not part of that group. She assured me that politics were not part of her decision-making process, which I thought was quite entertaining. It's a waste of my time to continually provide ideas and what I think are viable solutions in a forum that does not extend professional courtesy to all members, and to be cut off during discussion or talked down to by any elected person is unacceptable. I will continue to provide the kind of leadership that the residents of Brooklyn who support me expect. I will keep residents informed when things are happening that, in my opinion, are not in the best interest of the residents of this city, and I will continue to advocate for positive changes for our city's future. If any resident has any questions as to why I resigned from Finance Committee, please see me after the meeting or give me a call, and I'd be happy to explain to you. I implore all residents, pay attention to the lack of leadership in our city. I am confident that one or two families do not speak for the majority of residents in our city. This is our city, this is your city, and that's all I have.
Next up, Ron Van Kirk.
Thank you, Mrs. Gallagher, and thank you all for being part of our council meeting. On Wednesday, September 24th, early at 7 a.m., I had the privilege of joining Brooklyn middle and high school students at the school flagpole to pray for our country, our state, and our city. It was an honor to being part of prayer at the pole, and was encouraging to see so many students, several students, praying for their school and for their city. This spirit mirrors what President Washington wrote when he said this in a letter to governors of each state after the Revolutionary War. He said, "Almighty God, we make our earnest prayer that thou wilt keep the United States in thy holy protection, that thou wilt incline the hearts of the citizens to cultivate a spirit of subordination and obedience to government, and entertain a brotherly affection and love for one another and for the fellow citizens of the United States of America at large." I hope that many residents will follow the lead of our kids and will take heed to President Washington's words, and I hope to see many more at Prayer at the Pole next year. I'd also like to thank Mr. Selhertz for his kind words and for attending the Civil Servant Day at Cleveland Baptist Church, and also thank the Brooklyn Fire Department and Chief Zemek for allowing the ladder truck and the ambulance to be there. Everyone there enjoyed being able to see and touch their fire equipment. I want to thank them for that. Also, Mr. Tansky, thank you for your words in regards to the Park and Recreation Ordinance. It is important that we all work together on City Council to help our city. Stubbornness, sarcasm, unkind words in public, and closed-mindedness certainly accomplish nothing. And I am certainly trying with this ordinance to bring two sides together so that we can get something accomplished for our city. I would also like to thank Fran Miglerino for her work regarding the economic development and for keeping council informed on issues that are going on in our city. I'd also like to thank Mrs. Gallagher for her work in keeping council informed as a council, and also meeting with the mayor on various issues and informing us of what is going on a daily basis. Also, as the public safety meeting will meet on October 27th, and we will be discussing regards to pay for school guards, animal warden, and also auxiliary officers. Thank you, and that concludes my report.
Thank you. Kathy Pucci.
Thank you. Good evening. On September 23rd, we had a work session. We heard a presentation from Mr. Matt Stasinski of Huntington. The topic was economic development, and it was very informative. I'd like to thank Mr. Enovich for arranging this. Prior to his tenure at Huntington, Mr. Stasinski was a consultant, and we had consulted with him when we were going through the whole process with American Greetings, and the information that he provided to us was very valuable. So I hope we're able to continue a relationship with him. On October 8th was the Community Walk to School Day. I had the pleasure of walking with a group of students, teachers, and parents who met over at Brock Playground. It was a beautiful morning for a walk, and the kids were so excited, and they were especially surprised when they saw the stilt walkers. As Mr. Selhert said, we had arranged for stilt walkers to walk from each of the 3 designated places in the city, and the kids had a great time. My personal condolences to the family of retired Sergeant Ed Krajewski, who passed away. He's also the father of our firefighter Eddie Krajewski. Sergeant Krajewski was a dedicated member of our police department for many years who made a positive impact on our community. I know that he will be missed. Also, my condolences to the family of Wally Montgomery, who passed away. We've been friends for many years. Some of the things that come to mind when I think of him are he was considered the Mr. Fix-It, not just around Brooklyn, but outside of Brooklyn as well. He could fix anything you had that was broken, including your appliances. And he was the first person you'd call if something in your house was broken. And if you heard of, like someone else said, oh, my washer's broken or something like that, the first thing everybody always said, did you call Wally? Wally also was the type of person who he always helped anyone who needed his help. So my sincerest condolences to his family. On our agenda this evening, we have a authorization for confirmation for the position of building commissioner. I've suggested that we table this evening. We've invested in hiring a part-time HR consultant who's with us 1 day a week, and he's developing job descriptions, performance evaluations, and also best practices for hiring. And for this position, we have not yet established the official job description, and we also have some pretty old ordinances that we have to renew or review prior to moving forward. Another little glitch was the fact that whenever council has a candidate that we have confirmation powers over, we go into an executive session so that we can have a discussion with that person, and we didn't have a provision for that this evening. So for those reasons, I'm recommending that we table that this evening. A reminder that the Democratic Club is going to have a fundraiser in Oktoberfest on Monday, October 20th. Sokolowski's is providing the food, so it should be good, and we also have entertainment. You do not have to be a Democrat. You do not have to be political minded at all. This is just a fun evening. So anybody interested, let me know. I'm one of the officers, so I can get you tickets. They're $15 a piece. I was unable to make the Public Servants Day this past Sunday, which is actually the first one I've missed in a long time because we were taking one of my sons back to school. And as far as the economic development, Mr. DeMarco, we have 2 sets of minutes that the last 2 meetings, we did not have a quorum present of members who were on the committee at the time because they involve a period of time when Mr. Fitzgerald was on it. But there's certainly no reason why you can't have the minutes prior to their approval. So, Fran, if you could forward them to Mr. DeMarco. I don't think there's going to be any revisions, but just recognize that they're not approved yet. So.
Thank you.
And I think that completes my report. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I just want to announce that Mr. Tansky advised me prior to this meeting that he had a work commitment, so he has to leave at this time. If you can put on the record that he's leaving at 7:45, Mary Jo. I'd also like to echo Mrs. Pucci's comments about the confirmation of the building commissioner. She said it nicely. I would just like to add, I'm thankful to the mayor for moving forward with the HR consultant. I think he's doing a wonderful job at putting together job qualifications, titles, and going through the interviewing process. And I'd like to continue that, and I'd like to see that happen with the building department as well. And I also want to make clear that my position here is nothing against Mr. Kolsar personally, rather it's just a request that we, as a city, are consistent, fair, and transparent with our hiring and promotion practices. I also like to thank our finance director, Dan Enovich. It's interesting because he brings a different perspective to the city of Brooklyn coming from the outside, not traditionally from municipal finance. And so as he learns different things, or if he sees things from a different perspective, he likes to bring it to council. And he's created a series of public work sessions for council to get informed on certain topics, and I really appreciate that. I think it's very helpful that you're doing that. Lastly, I'm not going to get in a feud with Mr. DeMarco. It's a waste of time for all of you. But I would like to point out I am one of 7. I agree. I'm one vote of the 7 people here. It's my job as the council president to do the finance committee appointments. And I put on Mr. DeMarco at the beginning of this year because of his background in finance. I put aside my personal views for the best interest of the city, and I want to make that clear. When he decided to leave this vacancy, he did not explain to me why. I heard with you guys at the last council meeting that he would be not continuing on the finance committee, and I wondered why, and I think I have a right to know that. As far as replacing him, I talked to our finance director, I talked to the mayor, I talked to the 3 other council members about whether they're interested in putting themselves on the committee, and based upon those conversations, that's how I elected Mr. Selhertz to fill that vacancy. So just to be clear, I am one of 7. I know that. I think I've been very clear on that. I think I think my actions speak louder than the finger pointing that Mr. DeMarco is trying to do here. So, and thank you for that, and I will not address that anymore and waste your time. And moving on to the mayor's report. In the director.
Okay. I also want to offer my condolences to the Montgomery family and the Krajewski family. I've known Ed since we were 12 years old, and we spent 30 years together on the police department. We had a meeting at Parma Hospital the other day to meet the new president, Nancy Tinsley. She talked about what she intends to do as the head of the Parma Hospital. She wants to do more women's programs to help women's care. She also says that Parma Hospital is one of the best hospitals you can go to with a heart attack, and she wants to have the same reputation for strokes. So they're going to build up their strokes, their doctors that care for stroke, and so that it'll be just as good to go there. So if you have a heart attack or a stroke, Parma Hospital would be the place to go. She also said they're building a new location at Broadview Heights with an ER. This way they figure they have no representation in that part of the county, and if they have an ER there, when people come into the emergency room and they don't have a doctor, they can assign them a doctor at Parma Hospital, and they'll gather more patients like that. And in today's mail, I got an invitation to the Broadview Heights opening. It's going to be on November 5th, and it's located on I-77 and Route 82. I received a flyer in the mail about free legal advice. This is from the county, and I'm going to read it to you. It says, free legal services for relative and other kinship caregivers. Law students under the supervision of faculty lawyers at Cleveland Marshall College of Law and at Cleveland State University are offering free legal services to relatives and other kinship caregivers with a variety of legal issues who are involved with the Division of Children and Family Services, including child support issues, motions, power of attorney for custodial situations, youth delinquency issues, school suspensions and expulsions, motions to modify visitation orders, child credit history issues, child benefits such as Social Security, and distribution of pension benefits. Relatives may refer themselves by contacting the clinic secretary, Jean, at 216-687-3947. So if you have any legal problems, you fit these qualifications, you can call. The Mayor's Association had their meeting at First Energy's Command Center in Brecksville the other day, and after our meeting, they gave us a tour of the Command Center, and it was very interesting. They have one guy that just watches a monitor for the weather to see if any storms are moving into any place where they provide electricity. But the one item that caught my attention when he talked, he says, if your electricity goes out, he says, call us. He says, even if you think everybody in the neighborhood's called and the police department knows about it, still call. And he showed us at that moment there was an outage in Euclid. And each person that called up, their address would go up on a big board. And so you could see by the board, all the addresses were in a general area. He says they were able to figure out that the problem is probably a transformer on a certain street that fed those houses. So he said a lot of times if everybody calls in, they can figure out the problem before the truck even gets there. So the point is, if your electricity's out and you think everybody's called in, still call in, because that's what they want, because it helps them identify the problem. See, everybody's been talking, I know, for the last couple of months about what's going to go in a Giant Eagle. Well, tonight I can tell you, I mean, not Giant Eagle, Kmart. And we met with a company last week, Menards, M-E-N-A-R-D-S. They're going to move in there at Kmart. And they're a company that's located in Wisconsin, and they have over 300 locations, but they've mostly been in the Midwest. Now they want to expand eastward, and so far they come into Ohio. And it's like a Lowe's or a Home Depot. But it's a little bit different. Yesterday I drove down to Maslin, and I looked at the store there, and the thing was gigantic. And basically you go in, if you're going to order a lot of lumber, you do all the paperwork, then you drive around the back, they have your order ready, and they load it into your car or truck. And they also have a small section for groceries. So when we met with him, we asked him about the gas station. He says they don't do gas stations. They're going to tear that down and then sell that little corner to another business. And I noticed when I was in Maslin, it was the same thing. They had a taco store there at the corner. So I think that's about what they're going to do here. But the store was very, very clean. I was impressed with it. So that's what's going to move in by Kmart. And I want to thank Lowe's for donating the paint for our rec center. It's for the locker rooms in the interior. The value of the paint was about $1,300. They also sent a crew during the summer to clean up our park at Bidoff and Ridge. So Lowe's is always involved with our community, and we appreciate that. We had a meeting last week also with the engineers for the turn lane they're going to put in front of the Plain Dealer. I mentioned this before. We intend to put in a turn lane that goes southbound so you can make a right turn to go west on 480. Because as you know, when you get up there, usually the first car is not going to turn, and he stops and everybody's backed up behind him. Well, this lane will let everybody turn right that wants to turn right, and it should help the traffic situation. And it'll be paid for with the $1 million that we have, that we set aside for that diversion diamond that didn't go through, and the state's still holding this money, and we can use it because they determined that that lane had to do with the intersection, so it won't cost us anything. And they expect to do that first thing in the spring. And that Menards, they expect to open up in June of 2016. And that's all I have.
Thank you. We'll now move on to director's reports, and we'll start off with our Economic Development Director, Fran Migliorino.
Fran Migliorino, Economic Development Director. Mr. DeMarco, I will send you draft economic development minutes per Ms. Pucci's suggestion. However, they are in draft form. I usually do not send out things that are still in draft form, but Ms. Pucci, I'll be happy to do that. Mr. DeMarco, I also want to mention to you that you are probably the most negative influence that I have ever encountered in my professional life. And Brooklyn is on the move. And that article and my quotes means that Brooklyn's on the move. And regardless of how you feel about me or my department, I have never seen one plan come from you. I have never seen one suggestion come from you on economic development. You sat with me 4 years ago, asked me about Brooklyn. I lined out for you all the incentives, all the values, all the things that we can do here in Brooklyn to grow this city. and we are on the move. And that's all I have to say. Okay. I met with Jim Resnoff last Tuesday. The reason for the delay in getting the assisted living center off was the state. What happens, he was waiting for his 30-bed licenses to be approved by the state of Ohio. They are approved. They were approved on October 2nd. Our building commissioner has received plans. The planning commission approved their plans 6 weeks ago. They have fully paid their fees to move forward on the plans, so they will be reviewed by FODR. They will also be reviewed by Doug Courtney, our engineer, for the infrastructure part of it. The other thing that I wanted to tell you is that Jim is very anxious to get started. He was not going to close on his financing until the state of Ohio approved the 30 beds. Without the 30 beds, the pro forma did not make sense. Now that they have been approved by the state, he will be moving to closing. He anticipates you will see some activity starting in November. Douglas Company is a construction company. They have been working with all of the trades to get the trades together and work on bids for the building and the infrastructure. So he is moving forward. You will see activity out there. He does plan, obviously he's lost his construction season because of the state, but he does plan to be fully constructing by spring of 2015. But you will start to see some activity moving forward on the Senior Assisted Living Center. And that concludes my report.
Excuse me, Ms. Gallagher, can I ask a quick question? Mrs. Miglerino, just to clarify, is he beyond the appeal period now, or is it still within the appeal period?
He is not. The appeal period sunset the end of September.
Okay.
On October 2nd, he was fully approved by the state of Ohio
Okay, and just
for
one
the
more-
licenses.
Okay, thank you. One more quick thing for Mr. Kolsar. If you could please make sure somebody checks the gully that we had so much trouble with. Are you familiar with it? The gully that we had homes on Elizabeth Lane that flooded repeatedly in the fall because a drainage gully that's on that property was not kept clear. So in the fall, we make sure we go out there and look at it, and if it needs cleaning out, we notify them because we do not want to have a repeat. It was so bad that we had some residents who lost their insurance. Their insurance carrier dropped them because of repeated flooding.
If you want to stop by, I'll show you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Pucci. Next up, we'll have our Finance Director, Dan Enovich.
Thank you, Council President Gallagher. As of today, October 14, 2014, my 364th day on the job, our general fund balance is $11,284,793.79. After making the transfers authorized in tonight's legislation, Ordinance number 2014-55, the balance will be $9,873,675.86. Our year-to-date revenue to the general fund is $15,320,551.74. Our year-to-date expenditure from the general fund is $11,691,868.12. And our total fund balance, including all reserves as of today, is $26,069,093.64. That concludes my report.
Thank you. We will now move on to requests, and first up tonight, we have the confirmation and appointment of Building Commissioner Dave Kolsar.
Move to table?
Second.
To table, Mary Belbeer,
Yes.
Kevin Tansky. Oh, I'm sorry. He left. Andy Selhertz.
Yes.
Katie Gallagher.
Yes.
Tony DeMarco.
Yes.
Ron Van Kirk.
Yes.
Kathy Pucci.
Yes.
Next up, we have advertising for bids for the fire alarm system at the service garage.
Move to authorize advertising for bids?
Second.
To advertise for bids, Mary Belbeer,
Yes.
Andy Selhertz.
Yes.
Katie Gallagher.
Yes.
Tony DeMarco.
Yes.
Ron Van Kirk.
Yes.
Kathy Pucci.
Yes.
Okay, we'll move on to legislation. First up is 2014-54, amending the annual appropriations.
Introduced by all, suspend the rules?
Second.
To suspend the rules, Mary Belbeer,
Yes.
Andy Selhertz.
Yes.
Katie Gallagher.
Yes.
Tony DeMarco.
Yes.
Ron Van Kirk.
Yes.
Kathy Pucci.
Yes.
To adopt by emergency, Mary Belbeer,
Yes.
Andy Selhertz.
Yes.
Katie Gallagher.
Yes.
Tony DeMarco.
Yes.
Ron Van Kirk.
Yes.
Kathy Pucci.
Yes.
Next, 2014-55, authorizing interfund transfers and advances during 2014.
Move to adopt?
Second.
To adopt by emergency, Mary Belbeer,
Yes.
Andy Selhertz.
Yes.
Katie Gallagher.
Yes.
Tony DeMarco.
Yes.
Ron Van Kirk.
Yes.
Kathy Pucci.
Yes.
Next, we have 2014-60, authorizing mayor to enter an agreement with the Juvenile Diversion Coordinator, and this will be on first reading. Next, we have ordinance 2014-61, authorizing the purchase of internal cameras for the police department from Integrated Precision Systems Incorporated in the amount of $25,465.30 through the state purchasing program.
Introduced by all, suspend the rules?
Second.
To suspend the rules, Mary Belbeer,
Yes.
Andy Selhertz.
Yes.
Katie Gallagher.
Yes.
Tony DeMarco.
Yes.
Ron Van Kirk.
Yes.
Kathy Pucci.
Yes.
To adopt, Mary Belbeer,
Yes.
Andy Selhertz.
Yes.
Katie Gallagher.
Yes.
Tony DeMarco.
Yes.
Ron Van Kirk.
Yes.
Kathy Pucci.
Yes.
2014-62, authorizing the purchase of recycling containers from the Toter Company in the amount of $215,181.60 through the National Intergovernmental Purchasing Alliance.
Introduced by all, suspend the rules.
Second.
To suspend the rules, Mary Belbeer,
Yes.
Andy Selhertz.
Yes.
Katie Gallagher.
Yes.
Tony DeMarco.
Yes.
Ron Van Kirk.
Yes.
Kathy Pucci.
Yes.
To adopt, Mary Belbeer,
Yes.
Andy Selhertz.
Yes.
Katie Gallagher.
Yes.
Tony DeMarco.
Yes.
Ron Van Kirk.
Yes.
Kathy Pucci.
Yes.
2014-63, authorizing the purchase of rubber floor tiling for the John M. Coyne Recreation Center from Lowe's in the amount of $48,977.99 through the Western States Contracting Alliance.
Introduced by all, suspend the rules?
Second.
To suspend the rules, Mary Belbeer,
Yes.
Andy Selhertz.
Yes.
Katie Gallagher.
Yes.
Tony DeMarco.
Yes.
Ron Van Kirk.
Yes.
Kathy Pucci.
Yes.
To adopt, Mary Belbeer,
Yes.
Andy Selhertz.
Yes.
Katie Gallagher.
Yes.
Tony DeMarco.
Yes.
Ron Van Kirk.
Yes.
Kathy Pucci.
Yes.
And last, we have 2014-64, establishing the full-time position of Parks and Recreation Commissioner for a 3-year period effective January 1st, 2015, and expiring December 31st, 2017, and repealing the position of Recreation Commissioner. And this will be on first reading. As I stated previously, council is going to be adjourning to executive session to speak about matters of personnel relating to the Recreation Center. So I'll need a motion, please, and the mayor, could you identify who you'd like in the executive session?
I need the law director and the service director.
Okay.
Not the finance?
No,
Okay. Go ahead.
unless you
May I be
want it.
recognized for one real
Yes.
quick? I forgot to mention, on the safety meeting on October 27th, that's the night of our normal council meeting. The public safety meeting will take place immediately following the council meeting. I forgot to make that clear. Thank you.
Can I have a motion, please?
I move that we go into executive session for the purpose of discussing matters of personnel within the Recreation Department with the service director, the law director, and the mayor.
Second.
To adjourn to executive session, Mary Belbeer,
Yes.
Andy Selhertz.
Yes.
Katie Gallagher.
Yes.
Tony DeMarco.
Yes.
Ron Van Kirk.
Yes.
Kathy Pucci.
Yes.